Hello again, everyone. This is Chris Sciria. Robert Harding is back. Back where he belongs. As 38 Special used to say back in the 80s. Good song, good group. Anyways, Robert is back from his near cross-country trip. He drove out to Colorado last week. Pretty cool, if you ask me. I'm jealous. I would have loved to have done something like that. But he's back. Jonathan Monfiletto stepped in last week, did a great job.
Admirable job.
He does a great job.
High praise for Moneybags.
Absolutely. So we're going to talk about some sports topics here. And we'll start off with the recently completed NBA Finals. The Warriors won. Everybody thought the Warriors were going to win, although there was a doubt there when the Cavs went up 2-1 that maybe LeBron James can carry the Cavaliers single-handedly to an NBA championship. Alas, poor Cleveland. Always the bridesmaid, never the bride. Left at the altar again, so close to a title, but yet so far away. Well, LeBron James is human. And I've said it before, and I said it a couple weeks ago, that even Michael Jordan needed Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman, and those cast of characters to win his NBA titles. He couldn't do it all by himself. And same thing with LeBron James. I mean, look, the Cavaliers had injuries, and it caught up to them. And the Warriors were the better team. Look at the regular season record. And the Western Conference is always better than the Eastern Conference the last decade or so. So it's not a surprise. You feel bad for Cleveland, but I'm glad to see Golden State. I think they play a good brand of basketball. And Stephen Curry, great player, arguably the MVP. And I think the title is where it belongs in the Bay Area and Golden State for the first time since I was 8 years old. They're the NBA champs. Robert, your thoughts?
No, it was a great series. The Warriors deserving champions. But to your point, I mean, I would be curious to see how the series would have played out if LeBron did have a healthy Kyrie Irving.
Yeah.
Irving did start off the series, but then left, of course, with the knee issue. And a healthy Kevin Love.
Kevin Love, I was just going to say, that's huge.
That would have been big inside for the Cavs. So, it's it's kind of interesting to wonder about what might have been, but. Let's be real. I mean, the Warriors had a good thing going all year.
Yeah.
Steph Curry, obviously, the MVP. But just as an all-around team, I mean, Andre Iguodala had a tremendous series, which is why he won the Finals MVP, although I thought LeBron deserved it.
Mm-hmm.
His play, Iguodala's play, is why he won that award. So, you look around at Golden State's lineup, I mean, young guys for the most part, a young lineup, and heck, they could be back there again. They could have something going here. But, it was I've watched the NBA Finals for the past, 5 or 6 years, I think, after kind of a lull in basketball for me, NBA anyway. And, it's interesting. When LeBron's involved, things are interesting. It makes you want to watch. And this series with the dynamics, Golden State, Steph Curry, LeBron with the whole Cleveland thing, made me want to watch it. So,
killer ratings.
Yeah.
I mean, the highest rated NBA Finals in a long time. And I could see both teams going back next year. I really could see. I could see a rematch. I mean, the West is a little more competitive. The Clippers, obviously, I think are going to be fun to watch. In the East, I mean, look, the East is not a great conference by any stretch of the imagination. You don't know how Miami's going to rebound a year or two after LeBron left. Atlanta, I think, is going to take a step back. I think this was their year, and they didn't put it together. I think the Cavaliers, it's clearly they're the best team in the East, and they should repeat, and they should get back to the finals next year. The question is who they're going to play. Is Golden State going to defend its conference championship? Or, like I said, will it be the Clippers? Will it be the Spurs? The Spurs, obviously, they went out in the first round, but this is, I guess that's a team that you could say it's an old team. It's a little bit older. It's going to be interesting to see what happens in the West next year, whether it's Golden State's to lose or whether somebody else is going to step up. Oklahoma City, there's another Houston,
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. That's what I mean. The West is clearly the best conference. So, anything else about the NBA, sir?
All set.
All right. We're going to talk about golf next, the U.S. Open. As we're recording this on Thursday afternoon, the U.S. Open is just getting underway. It's out on the West Coast. It's on a links-style course in Washington State. It's not the British Open. It looks a lot like the British Open. And, when you think of that style of golf, Phil Mickelson comes to mind. He likes the links.
He's okay.
And he's won, 2 or 3 Open championships, I believe?
Yeah, he's won at least one
I think he's won at least 2. And I think his game is suited toward links-style golf. And, the one tournament he's never won, the major, is the U.S. Open. And I've been watching Fox's coverage Well, taking care of household responsibilities today, in and out. But so far, Joe Buck and Greg Norman doing okay.
Okay.
They're doing all right. It's gonna be interesting to see how they do the rest of the weekend. But Fox is definitely going all in, and Phil Mickelson. They're always talking about him. They're always showing him. They're showing some 15-year-old kid who's playing, who qualified. I mean, the kid is like, he's young enough he could be dating my oldest daughter, which scares the living heck out of me. But they're focusing on him. I mean, they're looking for names that people know, and they're focusing on them, or fresh faces, and they're just really going. Bubba Watson got a lot of love too. Bubba love. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see how Fox covers this. They had the shot tracker where somebody hits it up, and you see the little tail follow, almost like the puck. Remember the puck?
The glow puck.
The glow puck, yeah. So Fox is supposed to be very innovative, and they're going to try different things, and we'll see what happens. I mean, let's put it this way: I give Fox a couple pieces of advice: get the names right, get the scores right, don't miss any big shots. Do those things, you'll do fine. You don't need gimmicks. Golf, very basic game. Just keep on top of things. Don't screw anything up, and you'll be fine. You don't need to reinvent the wheel, okay? Really, you don't. So, Robert, your thoughts on the Open or any of the televised coverage of it so far?
Well, I haven't seen the televised coverage, but I certainly agree with your points on, kind of how they should approach it. I was reading Richard Deitch's piece about, kind of what's going into Fox's mind heading into the U.S. Open, the preparation, and kind of their strategy, if you will. And it seems that they're taking the right approach. That in some cases you're dealing with people who haven't covered golf before. Joe Buck, I think, admitted that he hasn't.
No.
He's more of a baseball, football guy. But they have a good team of analysts, some pretty good golf pros on the roster there. So they should be fine. And like you said, I mean, as long as you hit all the high points, and you get all the names right, and you get the scores right, and you add a little flair, especially later in the tournament when you get down to clutch time. I think that will mean that people are like, okay, they know what they're doing.
Who's hosting the hosting it? Not, I mean, Buck's doing the main play-by-play, but who's like kind of hosting it, like the studio part of things?
No,
Kurt Menefee.
Oh, well, there you go.
I kept looking for Jimmy Johnson and Howie Long and Terry Bradshaw. I think Terry Bradshaw would be entertaining doing golf, but hey, what do I know?
But in terms of the tournament, I'll say it was interesting before I came in here. One of the players I was going to say has a good shot this week is Dustin Johnson, and I see that he's on top of the leaderboard. So I won't. He wasn't going to be my prediction anyway, but he was going to be one of the favorites because this course is quite something. I don't believe they've played here before.
No, it's only 8 years old. It opened up 2007,
and it's it's quite something, the setup that they have, and they're going to be alternating par 4, par 5 on holes 1 and 18. Which makes things a little interesting for the players, and they don't know what the setup's going to be from day to day. So, I think everyone's rooting for Phil. We'd love to see him get it. He's been close so many times.
He's the people's choice.
You can't rule out guys like Rory and Jordan Spieth, Ricky Fowler, of course.
Martin Kamer, I'll tell you, Martin Kamer, man. There's certain guys who just play better at the U.S. Open, like Ernie Els. I mean, Ernie Els, you could say he's definitely on the backside, the back nine of his career, so to speak. But Ernie Els is always a name to keep an eye on at the U.S. Open. I don't know what it is. And, oh, my Lord, you know who we haven't talked about yet?
Tiger.
Wow. How sad is it? How far has Tiger Woods dropped? That we've talked about the U.S. Open for about 5 minutes, and we've not even mentioned Tiger Woods' name. It's sad. Look,
it's sad.
I mean, he'll never be what he was, obviously. But I mean, this is a David Duval type fall. I mean, seriously.
It's not that bad.
It's bad.
At least he's playing.
It's bad. I mean, come on. He's shooting in the 80s. I mean, this is nuts.
It's bad.
I mean, this is bad. I mean, this is where you're thinking. Obviously, he's tour eligible for a long time. I mean, he's going to be playing on the tour as long as he wants. But holy cow! I mean. Now the question is, will he ever win another tournament?
Yeah.
And it never used to be, will Tiger make the cut? It was a given he was going to make the cut and play on the weekend. Now it's like, you want to lay money down, Tiger makes the cut? I mean, it's today. He plays tonight. I mean, the West Coast, the time difference, he'll be golfing in prime time.
Yeah.
And Fox will be airing it after 8 o'clock. By the way, Fox Sports 1, early, from noon to 8. Fox, 8 on. So if you don't have Fox Sports 1 on your television, you are out of luck. But if you do have Fox, you're able to watch it late. Now, in the weekends, it will be on Fox, literally from 2 o'clock in the afternoon to 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night. So, all right, Robert. Anything else you want to add about the U.S. Open?
I'll just say on the Tiger point, one thing about him that he needs to get figured out, and it comes down to sports psychology, is all the swing changes. And really that seems to be his fallback whenever anything happens, whether it's personal or physical. Got to change up my swing, and I think that's part of his problem, because for a guy of his stature to just all of a sudden make these swing changes, it's going to take him time. Back when he made the most drastic of swing changes after this whole ordeal began in late 2009, it took him a couple years to really get back on track and win any tournament. And in 2013, I think it was, he
won a few.
He was looking good.
I think he won 5 tournaments, just no majors.
Yeah, he won the Players Championship, which of course is a big one, among others. And he was looking good. He was competing at the Masters again.
Yeah.
And then he got banged up with the injuries, decided to make another swing change, and here we are again.
Yeah.
So it's reminiscent of that a few years ago when he was going through the same stuff, and he did the same thing, and he was shooting terrible scores. And so, I wouldn't be surprised if he missed the cut this week. This is a challenging course, but we'll see.
I understand where you're coming from, but I'll tell you, I really think what it comes down to is Tiger Woods is going to be 40 years old in December. And yes, age is more than a number, but I'll tell you, his body, I mean, look, playing at that level with the torque and the swing speeds and everything else, his knees are shot, his back is shot. I mean, I'm sorry, I don't think the guy is going to be ever completely healthy again. He can say, yeah, I feel great and everything, and I mean, he can look good and everything, but that body of his has been through a lot over the years, okay? And I don't think that he will ever be 100% healthy again. Okay, I think back injuries, and I can speak from personal experience, believe me, when you hurt your back, when you break your back or you fracture a vertebrae, I don't think you're ever 100% ever again. And I think with Tiger, I think that's a lot of it right here. He's just not 100% healthy, and he'll never be 100% healthy again, and he'll never be the player that he was between 1997 and 2008. He had an 11-year run where arguably he was the greatest player in golf history. If you look at the number of majors won in that period of time, I don't think anybody can top that. Okay, and since 2008, when he hurt his knee or hurt the leg, and then of course obviously the other stuff, the private stuff, which is another thing. But I don't think he's been healthy completely. Bad back, bad knee, not a good combination for playing competitive golf at that level. And when you're 40 years old, those things catch up to you quickly. And I don't think he'll ever win another major. I think he's done winning majors. And I'd love to see him prove me wrong. But I think Jack Nicklaus is like, I don't think I worry about my record of 18 going down. I think it's pretty safe now for a few years at least. And I don't think he'll ever win another major. I think he might win another tournament or two over the next few years. But I think he's done winning majors. And he will never, ever come close to what he was in those 11 years between 1997 and 2008.
Yeah, he's got a long way to go. I mean, it comes down to the injuries and his age. You look at the talent that's coming up. Rory's in his 20s, Ricky Fowler's in his 20s. You have all these other players.
Well, they're young.
They're young, and
he's
got to compete with them. And it's the same challenge with Phil. Phil is 45 now, and here he is trying to win a U.S. Open for the first time, and it's the same battle year after year. He's not getting any younger. You have more talent coming up.
Yeah.
These courses tend to favor, in some cases anyway, the younger players because they can bring more power to it. And it kind of reminds you back when Tiger first started out, and he was the star. He was in his 20s, and clobbering the golf ball like no one's ever seen before, and just playing tremendous golf. And he's going to have a tough time, and especially if these injuries are impacting his swing and he's forced to make changes.
Yeah.
Then it's a wash. He's not going to be able to get back.
Yeah, it's too bad. You don't want to see. Like I said, this guy is the greatest athlete of our generation, I think, for overall winning.
Yeah.
Okay, him and Jordan, the two best. Period.
Yeah.
The last 20 years easily. Okay, and it's tough to see somebody who I wanted him to break the record of Jack Nicklaus, but it's just not going to happen. He just doesn't. His body is shot. Okay, it's shot. He's not going to win another major. Simple as that.
Yeah.
So prove me wrong, Tiger.
I look at it in context of Bill Russell won more titles, but Jordan was the better player.
Right.
I look at Nicklaus and Woods the same way. I think Woods is the best golfer of all time. Period. Nicklaus won more majors, but if you look at the era that Tiger played in compared, look at golf today.
Yeah.
You didn't have that kind of competition.
Well,
back then.
you look. There were some good golfers back in Nicklaus.
Oh, sure.
Arnold Palmer.
Yeah. Raymond Floyd's of the
Floyd,
world.
Tom Watson.
No question.
Okay, Lee Trevino. Look, it wasn't all stiffs. Okay,
But
I will say you're right that it is more competitive today. There's better. The golfers of today are better than the golfers of 30, 40, 50 years ago. Absolutely agree with you. But let's not just say that Jack Nicklaus was like going up against a bunch of stiffs. There were.
Oh no, I'm not saying that at all. I'm just
saying
there were
a lot of good golfers.
When you compare the eras, it's like
right.
It's like Russell. He wasn't going up against any stiffs, but in terms of the overall competition,
right.
Let's face it, the Celtics were it. They had the team.
But you could. Now we're going to change to the NBA here. You could say though, but back in Russell's day, the NBA was much smaller.
Oh,
okay?
Absolutely.
And
absolutely.
The talent wasn't as diluted. So you could say that, even the worst NBA team back then would probably, today would be maybe halfway decent, possibly. Although obviously the talent levels are different and everything. So go ahead.
Well, with golf, you look at, Tiger and his power and ability, and you put that into. Years ago, they didn't have that. Nicklaus has mentioned, before.
Yeah.
Look at the equipment that they played with at the time.
Yeah.
The difference is astounding.
The ball itself.
The ball, yeah. It's, back then, the equipment that they played with, the physiques, the courses and everything. You didn't have the course manipulation like you do now. Now they try and make it challenging for guys who hit the ball 350 yards.
If we were having this conversation 40 years ago, we would be saying Jack Nicklaus, and we'd be comparing him to Bobby Jones.
Yeah, that's right.
Bobby Jones' time. It's interesting. I want you to talk about your trip. I don't want to. I don't know how far we've gone in, whether we've already done our 15 minutes, but I want you to talk about your trip because God knows I talk about my experiences, so it's only fair you talk about yours. So,
well, I'll keep it brief because it wasn't, in terms of sports, there wasn't a lot.
No.
But I will say this: one of the cool things, one of the cool moments that stuck out is we were on I-70 and we were driving through Kansas City, and seeing the proximity. Kauffman Stadium where the Royals play and Arrowhead Stadium where the Chiefs play, seeing where those two facilities are located. Yeah. Great pictures.
Yeah.
I've got some pictures of that.
Yeah, I got to see those.
That was cool. Also, probably the top sports moment of the trip was seeing Lucas Oil Stadium. Mm-hmm. That facility is, I've been to Ralph Wilson Stadium. Yeah. I've seen photos of many others. I'll be clear. It's not AT&T Stadium. It's not the house that Jerry built, but it's a magnificent football sports facility. And you can see why they've had Final Fours there. Yeah. You can see why they've had, I believe they've had a Super Bowl there, or will have a Super Bowl there.
They have, of course, they have the Combine there.
Right. So.
No, they've had the Super. I think they've had the Super Bowl there.
Yeah. It's an impressive facility just from the highway, and you can see why from that, and it really is a model for you talk about putting stadiums in urban settings and stuff. That is it. That's a magnificent structure, and you can see why that it attracts big events. It's a great facility.
Yeah. I guess we'll wrap it up there, folks.
Sure.
So hey. Reunited, and it feels so good. Peaches and Herb, 1979, classic. We appreciate your support. We appreciate your patronage. Your watching the video, and of course, sharing the video with your friends. We do appreciate that. So, until next week, well, happy Father's Day, everyone. If you say call your dad, or say hello, or stop in, and have fun with your dad. And we'll see you next week, folks. Take care.